There's no denying the insane amount of work that goes into making even the worst video game. And so the least we as players can do is just sit tight and watch the hundreds, if not thousands of names scroll past our eyes during the credits. But let's be honest, how many of us actually do that? Our lives are busy, and if we're being totally truthful, nobody wants to sit through 20 minutes of boring white-on-black credits roll. And so many developers have cottoned on to the fact that they need to serve up a neat hook to keep players glued to their screens while the credits play out, using every attention-grabbing trick in their arsenal. Yet these 10 games didn't merely flash a neon light in front of the player's face in a desperate bid for attention, they did something truly unique, entertaining, and even quite beautiful with the typical end credits sequence. As much as most of us just tune out during the credits, these games rewarded those who stuck around with some of the best and most memorable content of all. I am Kirsten from WhatCulture Gaming, and these are 10 best video game end credits ever. Number 10, Devil May Cry 3: Dante's Awakening. It's always a hoot when video games give players something to interact with during their closing credits, but Devil May Cry 3 is an especially terrific example because it lets you basically do the same thing you've been doing the entire game, kicking tons of ass. Just as the game's credits are about to roll, Dante finds himself facing off against an extra horde of demons, at which point the player regains control of the Demon Slayer and is able to fight their way through the goons while the credits play on screen. And if you're skilled enough to rack up 100 kills during the 4-minute credit sequence, you'll be rewarded with an added post-credits scene. Given that most video games struggle to hold players' attention during the credits, this was a super unique way to keep them engaged, even if they were probably more focused on killing things than actually reading the names flashing past them. Number 9, Shadow of the Colossus. Shadow of the Colossus is one of the most beautiful video games ever made, so it's fitting that its end credits boast more artfulness and emotion than most video games do in their entirety. The credits offer up a stirring montage of the various ruinous environments you visited throughout the game. Afterwards, they reveal that protagonist Wanda has been reborn as a horned child, who is then cradled by his love Mono as she and Wanda's faithful steed Argo venture to a secret garden in the Shrine of Worship where animal life is now flourishing. Despite playing out in the credits, this is all incredibly vital to resolving the game's story, and though there's some debate about the precise meaning of it all, it provides an undeniably gorgeous epilogue to one of the most singular gaming experiences you'll ever play. Number 8, Red Dead Redemption 2. Though Red Dead Redemption 2's end credits clock in a bladder-busting 35 minutes, those who stick around will be sufficiently rewarded by not only Woody Jackson's wonderful musical compositions, but a ton of story snippets which bridge the gap between the two games. Among the more memorable vignettes are John Marston marrying Abigail, glimpses of the various surviving members of the Vanderlyn gang going about their business, Mary Linton visiting Arthur Morgan's grave, and Edgar Ross surveilling John ahead of the first game's events. After spending dozens of hours soaking in this world, it sure is a treat to sit back, relax, and be treated to a soulful postscript ahead of the game's epilogue, where players once again take control of John Marston. Number 7, Guitar Hero 3: Legends of Rock. After players complete Guitar Hero 3's story mode by defeating Satan in a guitar battle, yes, seriously, the game's credits will roll, but not before informing you that you've now unlocked Dragon Force's 7-minute epic Through the Fire and Flames, which will immediately start playing along the Note Highway. Considering that Through the Fire and Flames is without question the game's toughest song and one of the most ludicrously difficult in the entire series, it's an insane challenge to bombard players with moments after beating the thumb-busting final level. Mercifully, however, you can actually fail the song during the credits, where various pictures of the game's dev team are also displayed. Granted, you'll be concentrating so hard on playing the song that you won't have much time to actually look at the pictures, but it's still a neat touch all the same. Number 6, Resident Evil 4. Though the earlier Resident Evil games had a tendency to jam their end credits full of corny butt rock and humorous B-roll footage, Resident Evil 4 instead took the opportunity to further flesh out the game's oppressive world building. The credits feature hand-drawn illustrations of the rural Spanish village where the Las Plagas parasite was initially released, with the first batch of pictures set to whimsical music as they show off the charming quaintness of provincial life. But halfway through, both the drawings and the music take a sharply truly sinister turn as the Los Iluminados roll into town and spread their corruption throughout. That peaceful life is disturbingly upset by infections, and the rest is history. In a more subtle and artistic way than just about anyone would expect from a Resident Evil game, it truly hammered home that the village's inhabitants didn't deserve the tragic fate afforded to them. Number 5. Metal Gear Solid. The Metal Gear Solid games are well known for sandwiching their credit sequences between insanely long-ending cutscenes, but the original Metal Gear Solid took a slightly different approach. After the game ends with Snake riding off into the sunset with Meryl, or Otacon if you didn't withstand Revolver's Ocelot's torture, the credits roll, set to the instantly iconic song The Best Is Yet to Come. The song is overlaid with intermittent live-action footage of Alaska's natural beauty, and just as the credits end, players are met with a poignant closing message from Dr. Naomi Hunter, who champions the importance of living rather than being constrained by fate. Better still, in a move that was wildly ahead of its time for the medium, Hideo Kojima then tacked on a sequel-baiting post-credits scene in which Ocelot revealed that he was working for the President of the United States all along. While not as bombastic as the credits in the series' later games, the breathtaking beauty of the song and the video, combined with Hunter's message and the Ocelot reveal, make this an easy all-timer. Number 4. Doom 2016. The closing credits for 2016's Doom reboot may not be interactive or contemplative, but they certainly are beautifully badass. The game's 4-minute credit roll boasts eye-meltingly beautiful cinematic glimpses of various intense moments from the game, accompanied by the credits stylishly wrapping themselves around the slick environments. And of course, it's all accentuated by Mick Gordon's axe-meltingly awesome musical score, playing a metal as capper on one of the most visually dynamic and flat-out thrilling credit sequences of the entire generation. If this doesn't leave you all pumped up high, you're probably dead. Sadly, those hoping that the recent Doom Eternal might one-up it were left disappointed by its comparatively ordinary, even boring, credits roll. Number 3. Skies of Arcadia. If you've never played the cult classic RPG Skies of Arcadia, either on the Dreamcast or its later GameCube port, you're missing out on one of the greatest video games ever made. But the brilliance doesn't quite end when the main game does, as those who stick around for the credits will be greeted by one final ingenious flourish. Basically, the credits are accompanied by a number of book pages explaining the fates of the central characters, but the number of pages you'll see will depend entirely which characters you recruited on your team during your playthrough. As such, if you're missing a number of characters, that's quite the incentive to go back and recruit them. And last but not least, let's not forget Yutaka Minobe and Tatsuyuki Maeda's beautiful musical score, which confirms the credits to be a mini masterpiece all of their own. Number 2. Portal. After Valve's masterful puzzle platformer Portal ends with its famously delicious surprise, the credits play out in a mock computer interface, with homicidal AI GLaDOS delivering a final assessment of the situation, which just so happens to be a whimsical song. The iconic tune, Still Alive, considers the experiment a success and confirms to the player that GLaDOS is far from dead. While rather unremarkable from a visual perspective, the sheer shock value and hilarity of the song makes the credits absolutely unforgettable and totally unskippable. After all, where else can you be robotically serenaded with demented lyrics like, "But there's no sense crying over every mistake, you just keep on trying till you run out of cake." Number 1. Nier Automata. Nier Automata famously boasts more than 24 endings, but one among them triggers one of the most insane end credit sequences in video game history. Once you've unlocked either ending C or D, you're given the option to unlock ending E, which transforms the credits into a hard-as-nails bullet hell shoot-'em-up minigame. Basically, all of the game's devs team are turned into enemies for you to obliterate, and because you'll die after sustaining just a few hits, the game will eventually ask whether you require any help. Accepting the aid will cause the game to introduce a support squad drawn from the data of other players who have recently completed the ending. If you're not connected to the internet while playing, however, you're sadly out of luck. Upon finally beating the 15-minute sequence, you'll then be given the option to submit your own game save to help other players during the credits, but at the cost of your save file actually being deleted for real. To hammer the point home, the game even literally shows your save being deleted, confirming the magnitude of your sacrifice in the most ingenious way possible. Trust Yoko Taro of all people to come up with one of the most brilliantly twisted end credit sequences of all time. And there we go, the best video game end credits ever. Let us know your favourites down in the comments below. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, click that subscribe button. But for now, I have been Kirsten Ria from WhatCulture, and I will see you in the next video.